Beloved child, I know that what I am leading you to do is not light for you. When I tell you to close the door that has caused you to live in avoidance, I also know that right behind that decision, another knock will sound stronger, more persistent, more familiar. It is the knock of fear. It does not always appear in a frightening form so that you can easily recognize it. Many times it comes dressed in the garment of caution, speaks with the voice of experience, and uses words that seem wise to pull you backward. It tells you not to hope too much so you will not be disappointed. It tells you not to step too far so you will not fall painfully. It tells you not to believe in good things, because beautiful things usually do not stay long. It tells you that the safest way is to live small, dream small, love little, open your heart only enough, and keep the deepest part of yourself behind many layers of locks. But, my child, I want you to see clearly. Not every voice that calls itself realistic comes from wisdom. There are things called reality that are only fear that has lived inside you for so long that you have mistaken it for a protector. I do not blame you for having once listened to that voice. I know you had days when you had to shield yourself from pain. Seasons when shrinking back seemed like the only way not to break any further. Perhaps you called it caution, called it maturity, called it learning from the past. But beneath those names, a part of you was still trembling. I do not come to criticize that trembling. I come to place my hand upon the place where you are afraid and tell you, you do not need to let fear become the gatekeeper for the rest of your life. It has stood before too many of your doors for too long. It has stopped you from entering what I prepared. It has caused you to see blessing as a trap, opportunity as danger, and love as a place where you might lose yourself. And now, I want to remove that lock not by pressure, but by the light of my love. There are doors within you that fear sealed long ago. You may have become so accustomed to seeing them closed that you no longer think you are allowed to open them. A door leading to hope, a door leading to trust, a door leading to the courage to begin again, a door leading to the boldness to receive something good without immediately suspecting that it will be taken away. But while fear still holds the key, you will stand before each door and hear within your heart words such as, do not try again, do not hope anymore, do not speak the truth anymore, do not give your heart anymore. Do not step out anymore. Beloved child, I did not create you to live in the narrow hallway of only the things you dare to allow yourself to believe. I created you to walk in the wide space of life, where you know how to be cautious without being imprisoned, wise without losing faith, and able to remember old lessons without turning the past into your master. Remember Gideon, who once hid himself in fear. When I came to him, he was not standing on the battlefield with the appearance of a hero. He was threshing wheat in a hidden place because he feared the enemy. In his own eyes, he was small, weak, and unqualified to be called. But I did not call him according to the fear he was carrying. I called him according to what I had placed within him. I saw a mighty man even while he was still hiding. I saw one who was sent even while he was still asking why he was the one chosen. I was patient with the signs he asked for, patient with his trembling, but I did not let him remain forever in hiding. I led him out of the frame of inferiority, gradually removed the reasons he used to make himself small, and then used him to bring deliverance to my people. Do you see? I do not wait until you have no fear before drawing near. I draw near so that fear no longer has the right to define you. Therefore, before you move into the deeper part of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment, not to analyze more, not to try to understand everything with your reasoning, but to return to simple honesty between you and me. Place your hand upon the place where you often hide your pain. Slow your breathing, and let every layer of defense lower itself before me. You do not need to say a long prayer. You do not need to use beautiful phrases. Simply speak to me with the truest voice within you and tell me that you are tired of hiding. Tired of pretending you are not afraid. Tired of locking me outside the rooms you feel most ashamed of. Tell me that you want me to enter even the places you once thought were unworthy of being touched. Tell me that you no longer want to guard your wounds by yourself. Tell me that if I do not reject you, you no longer want to keep rejecting yourself. When you open your mouth in this way, even very softly, something sacred will begin to move. The walls inside you do not always collapse with a loud sound. Sometimes they only crack with a very small line, so small that you almost do not notice. But, my child, one crack is enough for light to enter. One ray of light is enough for darkness to know that it no longer fully owns that place. One act of honesty is enough to begin a dawn. I do not need you to open every door in one day. I only invite you not to lock me outside. Each time you are honest, the light will go deeper. Each time you return, instead of hiding, the chains will loosen. Each time you allow me to name what frightens you, it will lose part of the power it once concealed in vagueness. I know there are places in you covered with shame. There are memories you do not want to mention again. Choices you do not want anyone to know. Failures that made you feel less than others. Wounds that caused you to wonder whether I still look at you with complete love. But, beloved child, I have never been ashamed of you. I did not turn my face away from you in the days when you lost your direction. I did not withdraw my love when you trembled. I did not stand outside the door with a sentence in my hand. I stood there with mercy, waiting for you to open so I could enter, not to make you more ashamed, but to remove from you the burden that is pressed upon your chest for too long. What you hide in darkness often grows into fear. What you place in my light will begin to be healed. And when the light enters, fear will no longer remain as vague as before. It will appear in its true form. You will see that many of your decisions did not come from peace, but from the fear of being hurt again. You will see that there were refusals, not because something was wrong, but because you were afraid you were not strong enough to receive something good. You will see that there were times you called it not needing, when in truth, it was not daring to hope. You will see that there were doors I opened, yet you stood far away because fear whispered that if you stepped in, you would lose control. Do not be sad when you recognize this. Recognition is not failure. Recognition is the beginning of freedom. What is named before me is no longer an invisible ghost. It becomes something that can be untied, laid down, and replaced with truth. I do not lead you into this confrontation with whips, nor do I use threats to force you to be courageous. My love is more patient than every time you stumble, wider than everything you have ever feared, and deeper than every room you have ever locked tightly. I will not push you into the light to the point that you are overwhelmed. I will hold your hand, little by little, until you realize that what you fear is not greater than me. I will teach you to distinguish between the warning voice of wisdom and the threatening voice of fear. Wisdom brings clarity and peace. Fear brings shrinking and confusion. Wisdom helps you choose rightly. Fear makes you afraid to choose anything at all. Wisdom keeps you close to me. Fear makes you hide from me. And from now on, I want you to learn which voice leads back to life. Beloved child, hear me gently in the deepest place within you. I do not teach you to be watchful so that you become someone who is always suspicious, always defensive, always looking at everyone through fearful eyes. I teach you to be watchful so you can love in the light. Open your heart without losing yourself, and give without allowing what is wrong to enter and rule within you. The watchfulness that comes from me does not make you hard, it makes you pure. It does not make you cold. It gives your love holy boundaries. It does not tell you to avoid everyone. It teaches you to recognize who is being sent by me to strengthen you, who comes only to bring disorder, and what may seem sweet yet quietly pulls you away from the peace I have planted within you. Therefore, do not confuse love with blindness. True love does not need darkness to cover it. True love does not force you to remain silent before what wounds your dignity. True love does not require you to betray the purity within you in order to keep a fragile connection. True love brings you nearer to me and helps you become gentler, wiser, freer, and brighter. When you stand before an invitation, a relationship, an opportunity, or a crossroads that makes your heart uncertain, do not only ask whether it brings immediate benefit. There are things that appear at first glance to be good doors, but when you enter them, they cause you to exchange too much of your peace. There are relationships that first bring the feeling of being needed, but gradually make you forget who you are before me. There are positions, promises, rewards, and recognition that make people think they are moving forward, when in truth, they are moving farther away from the truth. So ask a deeper question. Does this help you become the person I am building within you? Does it make your heart softer in what is good? Does it keep your conscience clear? Does it bring you closer to the light? Does it help you love in the right way? For what is profitable in one season is not necessarily blessed for the whole journey. A person may gain very much and still feel empty. A person may keep someone's presence yet lose peace. A person may rise higher in the eyes of the world yet bow low before compromise. I do not want you to win by losing the most precious things I have placed within you. Remember Solomon in the early years of his reign. When he stood before a responsibility too great for him, he did not ask for power to overwhelm others, did not ask for wealth to display himself, and did not ask for glory so his name would be praised by the world. He asked for a heart that knew how to listen, how to discern, and how to govern my people in righteousness. That prayer was beautiful before me, because it did not place personal gain on the throne, but placed wisdom at the center. And I gave him more than what he asked. Do you see? When you choose wisdom instead of haste, uprightness instead of shortcuts, and what makes you right before me instead of what makes you praised before people, you are stepping into another order. That order is not always loud, not always quick, but it is enduring. It protects you from hollow victories and leads you into the portion of blessing that does not destroy you. My child, I am leading you not only so that you may avoid a temporary trap. I am teaching you to live as one who belongs to higher things, even in ordinary life. When you recognize that you were not created merely to chase what passes quickly, many things that once had the power to confuse you will lose their strength on their own. You will no longer need to grasp every invitation just because you are afraid of missing out. You will no longer chase every gaze just because you want to be affirmed. You will no longer try to keep everyone at any cost just because you fear loneliness. When I fill the emptiness within you with my love, the things that were once used to cover lack will no longer have enough authority to command you. You will learn to be content without being passive, to be at peace without giving up, to choose without panic, to refuse without bitterness, and to walk without needing everyone to understand immediately. There are things I will gently let fall from your hands. At first, you may think it is loss, but later you will realize it is freedom. There are invitations that will no longer attract you as they once did. There are conversations you will no longer want to enter. There are connections you once feared releasing, but now you will be able to lay them down in peace. There are habits that once comforted you temporarily, but now you will realize they only kept you from true freedom. Do not be afraid when your inner taste changes. It is not that you are becoming cold toward life. It is that you are being purified so you can love life in a healthier way. When the light grows within you, darkness can no longer easily disguise itself as shelter. When my peace becomes familiar to you, You will quickly recognize what pulls your heart into confusion. And remember that peace does not come because everything around you has been perfectly arranged. If you wait until everyone understands you, every question has an answer, every road has no risk, and every future is made smooth, you will forever delay your rest. True peace comes when you know you do not stand alone in decisions, great or small. I am here, closer than your breath. I care not only about the major crossroads, but also about the small choices that silently shape you day by day. I will remind you through a gentle unease when something is not right. I will lift you through a deep stillness when you walk in the way I have prepared. I will teach you to distinguish between the urging of fear and the invitation of wisdom. I will not shove you with panic, I lead you with light. But your part is not to run from me when your heart begins to become troubled. Do not hide what you are uncertain about, as though I will punish you for not being strong enough. Do not delay returning until everything has become tangled. Come early. Come honestly. Come with the questions that have no answers yet, with the emotions that have not yet been arranged, with the desires you do not yet know whether to keep or release. I do not need you to enter my presence with a perfect appearance. I want you to enter with a truthful heart. When you bring what is hidden before the light, it loses its quiet power. When you tell me what you fear, fear no longer has to control you in the dark. When you ask me, before deciding, you open the door for wisdom to enter before consequences do. Beloved child, I know there were seasons when you had to learn to stand firm, only so you would not collapse beneath things too heavy for your heart. You learned to smile while your inside was still tangled. Learned to stay silent when no one had enough patience to hear you speak everything out. Learned to keep walking even though your feet were weary from old wounds that had not yet been named. I saw you gather all your strength just to get through the day. Saw you tell yourself that you had to be strong, had to endure, had to let no one see your vulnerable places. And I do not look down on that resilience, because at one point, it helped you survive. But today, I do not want you to stop at survival. I did not create you merely to withstand each gust of wind, merely to press pain deep down and call it peace. I want to lead you into another strength, the strength of one who is healed, enlarged, and living in the fullness of my love. My child, there is a very deep difference between bracing yourself and being restored. Bracing yourself is when you lock every emotion into a dark room and then stand outside the door as though you have won. But inside that room, the pain is still breathing, still waiting for a weak moment to speak. Bracing yourself may make you appear steady before others, but it gradually makes your inside dry and hard. Bracing yourself helps you go a little farther, but it does not make you truly free. The restoration I give does not force you to deny what happened. It brings it into my light so that it no longer rules you. I do not only want you to overcome by willpower, I want to lift you by grace. I want to wipe the tears you once swallowed back into your heart, to touch the painful places you still avoid, and to make your heart soft again without making you weak before evil. Do not be afraid of softness. Beloved child, a soft heart in my hands is not a heart easily destroyed. It is a heart that can still love without being clouded by bitterness, still be moved by what is good, still receive joy without suspecting that it will immediately disappear. I do not want you to become hard as stone simply because you have once been wounded. Stone may withstand impact, but stone does not know how to embrace anyone, does not know how to blossom, does not know how to let holy waters flow through it. I want there to be within you the firmness of a rock foundation, but also the gentleness of a watered garden. I want you to have wise boundaries, but not cold walls. I want you to have discernment, but not to live in endless suspicion. I want you to be strong enough not to be dragged back into the past, and soft enough to step into the future with a heart that still knows how to hope. There will be times when I allow a familiar situation to touch you, causing an old feeling to rise slightly, making you think you have not gone as far as you believed. You may encounter a word that brings back the past, a face that awakens memory, a circumstance that resembles the wound that once frightened you. But do not quickly conclude that you have returned to the beginning. I do not bring you back to the old place in order to leave you there. I only let light shine into the room still closed, so you can see that the chains fell from your hands long ago. Sometimes old emotions appear not to prove that you are still bound, but so you may realize that today you can stand in the same wind without being swept away by it. What once made you tremble is now only an echo. What once pressed you down no longer has enough strength to keep you lying there. Remember Peter after the night he denied his teacher. The crowing of the rooster that day was not merely a sound, it was like a knife piercing his heart, reminding him of a weakness he himself did not want to face. Perhaps from that day on, every rooster crow could have pulled him back into the memory of failure, shame, and tears. But I did not let Peter's story end in the courtyard of the high priest, where he had once trembled before the questions of others. My beloved son met him again by the lake shore, not to condemn, not to tear open the wound again, but to ask about love and entrust the mission to him once more. Beside the charcoal fire, where the old memory could have returned, love rewrote its meaning. From one who had once denied in fear, Peter was restored to become one who would shepherd, strengthen, and stand up in courage. Do you see? I do not erase every memory as if it never happened. I enter it, change its power, and turn the place that once carried the mark of sorrow into an altar of restoration. Therefore, if an old memory returns to your mind, do not fear it as though it were an unbeatable enemy. Bring it before me. Do not let it pull you into the darkness of self-blame, and do not let it whisper that you are still the person you were in those former days. You are no longer in that place. I have carried you through many stages, taught you many things, lifted you up many times, and given you portions of light you did not have before. A healed memory does not necessarily disappear from the mind, but it loses the right to tear at your heart. It may still remain as a page in a book that has already been turned, but it is no longer permitted to hold the pen and continue writing your identity. It becomes a testimony that I entered the most painful place and did not leave you there. Some people think being healed means never remembering what once hurt them. But, my child, healing is deeper than that. To be healed is to remember without being crushed. It is to pass by the place that once frightened you without losing peace. It is to encounter a similar circumstance and no longer react like a wounded person defending themselves in panic. It is to speak about what is old with a lighter voice, not because it never hurt, but because I have removed the poison from it. The scar is no longer an accusation. It becomes a sign that you survived. We're lifted up. We're led out. And we're taught to love with a purer wisdom. You often want to see an immediate sign, a movement, a confirmation that what you are doing is not in vain. I understand your heart, because waiting without seeing results is one of the quietest trials of those who know how to love. But, my child, not every kind of growth makes a sound. Roots sink deep in darkness before the trunk rises into the light. A child is formed in a hidden place before letting out the first cry of life. Dawn is prepared in the heart of night before the horizon glows. Therefore, do not measure the value of what you sow by the speed at which you see change. Some seeds need one rainy season. Some seeds need many years. Some seeds only blossom when the sower has stopped standing beside them waiting. But in my kingdom, not one drop of love is wasted. Not one act of kindness is erased from my memory, and not one truthful word falls into emptiness. Remember Moses when his mother placed him in a small basket upon the river. To the eyes of the world, it was a desperate act of a mother who had no way out, but in my plan, it was a seed of faith laid down upon dangerous waters. She could not know the whole future of that child, could not foresee the day Moses would stand before Pharaoh, and could not foresee the sea being parted for my people to pass through. She only knew how to entrust what was most precious into my hands with a trembling yet sincere faith, and I received that seed, protected it through the waters, brought it into a place that seemed impossible, and then used that very child in a mighty work for my people. Do you see? There are things you do today that seem small and fragile, like a basket on a river. But when they are entrusted into my hands, they can go farther than anything you imagine. Therefore, do not despise your hiddenness. Not everyone is called by me to stand among crowds with a voice that reaches far. Not everyone carries light like a torch on a mountaintop, causing many to see immediately. There are people I place as lamps by the door of a house, lighting the way for the lost to return in the night. There are people I place as glowing embers beneath a thin layer of ash, not dazzling before the eyes of the world, but warm enough to keep a family, a friend, or a small community from becoming cold through long seasons. Do not despise what I have entrusted to you simply because it is not loud. A bright light may guide many from far away, but quiet warmth keeps the trembling near life. What matters is not how you are seen, but whether I am revealed through you. There are lives transformed not because they heard a great sermon, but because day by day they saw someone remain kind, though misunderstood, remain soft, though wounded many times, keep integrity, though there was a chance to take a shortcut, and choose forgiveness, though the pain had not fully settled. Such a presence needs no introduction. It speaks by my fragrance. When you enter a place with a peaceful soul, you can calm tension without giving a command. When you listen to someone with mercy, you can open a door in them that thousands of pieces of advice could not open. When you persist in loving someone who is difficult to love, you are sowing into them a living witness that my grace does not give up easily. I want you to understand this deeply. Holy influence does not lie in the number of things you do, nor in how busy others see you to be. A life may be full of activity and yet dry of love. A hand may do many great things but fail to pass on life if the heart has moved away from the source. On the other hand, someone who quietly does small things with a pure heart, someone who knows how to place me in every word, every choice, every way of treating others, can change the atmosphere around them. You do not need to try to create an echo in order to prove your worth. Let me fill everything you do. Whether it is a short conversation, a meal you prepare, a message you send, a prayer no one hears, or a patience no one knows about. When I am in it, what is small is no longer small. And, beloved child, the influence I desire in you does not begin with a perfect image, but with a truthful life. Do not wear masks that make you weary. Do not try so hard to become what others expect that you lose the beauty I have placed uniquely within you. I do not need you to play the role of a strong person who never trembles, nor do I need you to hide every limitation in order to be admired. There are times when vulnerability placed rightly opens a door of healing for someone else. When you dare to say humbly that you too need to be lifted by me, you free someone from the burden of having to pretend. When you admit you are still learning, you help someone else find courage to keep walking, though they are not yet complete. When you live truthfully before me and before those I allow to come near, you become a gentle invitation for them to step out of hiding as well. But living truthfully does not mean unleashing every emotion or exposing everything that does not need to be exposed. Living truthfully is standing in my light with a heart without deceit. It is knowing where you are weak, so you can rely on me there. It is knowing what wounds you carry, so that you do not use those wounds to hurt others. It is knowing you are loved, so you no longer have to embroider a different image in order to be accepted. When you live in this way, the truth within you will create a safe space for others. They will feel that they too can come near to me without waiting until they are perfect. They will understand that holiness is not a rigid outer covering, but a life purified by me day by day in love. Be faithful in the small things I place before you today. Faithful when no one praises you. Faithful when the results have not yet appeared. Faithful when the person you intercede for has not changed as you hoped. Faithful when your heart wants to give up because it feels that you are making no difference. I see it all. And more than that, I am using that very perseverance to teach those around you about the strength of love that does not grow weary quickly. Someone will learn patience through the way you wait. Someone will learn faith through the way you stand firm in the storm. Someone will learn gentleness through the way you respond when wounded. Someone will recognize the way back to me not because you preach much, but because your life becomes a quiet sign of a light that does not go out. You do not need to try to turn yourself into a model for everyone. When you focus too much on building an image, you can easily forget to live in my presence. Stop forcing yourself to become a perfect symbol. Be my true child, one who knows how to love, how to learn, how to rise again, how to ask for grace, how to be corrected, and how to sow what is good, even before seeing the harvest. The very truthfulness placed in my hands will become something that spreads far. It is not loud, but it is enduring. It does not display itself, but it is deep. It does not need the world to recognize it immediately, because it has already been recognized in my eyes. So, keep sowing, beloved child. Sow with words that build up. Sow with a peaceful presence. Sow with acts of kindness that do not need to be named. Sow with forgiveness, with patience, with a life that does not hide the light I have placed within you. Do not be afraid if the soil is still silent today. Do not be disappointed if the people you love have not yet changed before your eyes. Do not think that the small things you do are not strong enough to touch anyone. I am the one who causes the seed to awaken at the appointed hour. Your part is to sow in love. Live in truth. Walk in humility, and let me shine through you in the way I choose. When the season comes, you will be amazed to realize that the quietest things in my hands can become the most beautiful harvest. And your life will quietly tell the world that love sown by me never returns into emptiness.